Ndio, bado tupo katika ukumbi wa Diamond Jubilee. Kumbuka hapa ni katika maonesho ya Jibix 2024 ambapo makubwa yanaendelea kuonyeshwa hapa. Watu wanafaidi yale ambayo yanafanywa hapa.
Kabisa.
Mimi ni Alfred Kabisha, niko na Esther Takwa. Tunakupitisha kwenda kujionea yale ambayo yapo. Esther, nimefurahi sana siku ya leo.
Sana. Binafsi nimefaidika sana. Kuna mambo mengi hapa ambayo nimejifunza.
Yaani ukiacha kupita kwenye mabanda kujionea yale ambayo yapo, kichwa kinapata vitu.
Yaani hizi nondo zinazotolewa hapa, mimi hadi nasema yoyote ambaye yupo huko nyumbani na hajafikiria kufika kesho asikose.
Na nilikuona muda fulani uko busy kuandika sana.
Maana unasikiliza unaona naandika, mbona nazidi kushusha tu vitu. Kwa hiyo ni kitu kizuri, na hapa tunapoelekea sasa hivi kuna nyingine ambayo inashuka. Wanaenda kutuelezea namna gani ya kuweza kuepuka migogoro kazini.
Bana. Kwa hiyo ile mambo ya fulani kununuana na fulani kazini inaisha.
Migogoro ya aina yote nafikiri ataelezea kwa undani zaidi, kwa sababu kuna watu wengi tunafanya kazi lakini hujui ni namna gani unaepuka migogoro ukikutana nao. Unaona, mtu unakuta mtu yupo kazini, baada ya siku chache humuoni, vipi hapa na kulitokea kana kisasa, hapa unaelekeza ni namna gani utaepuka migogoro.
Bwana, hebu nenda kamwambia yule ambaye bado hajatutizama Daily News Digital, mwambie kwamba muda wa kwenda kufahamu namna ya kuiepuka migogoro kazini. Kula darasa, chukua karatasi na kalamu, alafu uandike jinsi ya kuepuka migogoro. Na Esther, ambacho nakipenda hawa jamaa katika maonyesho haya wanagusa mule ambapo ndo watu wanaishi kila siku.
Maisha ya kila siku. Kazini, kwenye biashara, nyumbani, wanatembea mule. Yaani ni everyday life.
Maisha ya kila siku ndio ambayo wanayafanya hapa, na ukishafahamu hivyo, naamini unaenda sasa kujua jinsi ya kuishi kwa upendo, jinsi ya kuishi kwa amani katika makazi. Unajua ulikuwa unazungumza kitu kimoja hapo, jinsi ya kuishi makazini. Hiyo inawasumbua watu wengi sana Esther. Fulani aongee na fulani. Unajua kwa sababu gani? Eti cheo. Usikia?
Maslahi, anapendelewa.
Anapendelewa, kitu ambacho na moja, hata wakati Rais Samia tuseme sauti moja,
kuelewana na kupendana na kuheshimiana na kujua mipaka. Hiyo nayo ni kingine.
Umeona sasa?
Kutokujua, kila mtu anataka kuingilia mipaka ya mwingine na kuivuka, lakini ukijua mipaka ya mwenzako ni moja njia ya kuepuka mgogoro, right? Sahihi
kabisa. Esther ameiba kidogo kile ambacho mwalimu anakwenda kukwambia katika darasa ambalo linafuata. Sasa wewe mwambie yule ambaye bado atufuatilie hivi sasa, kwa sababu darasa hauja kutolewa hapa. Kumbuka tuko live. Sisi nafikiri Esther katika siku ya kwanza jana, leo ya pili bana, yani watu tunachoweza, yani mtu anashindwa kusema kwamba hao jamaa saluti. Naona mwalimu anaendelea kuweka mambo sawa hapa kwa jinsi ya kuja kutoa darasa, lakini sisi tuendelee kuwapa faida za maonyesho haya. Kwa jinsi ambavyo tumekaa hapa kwa siku hizi mbili, tumejionea vitu mbalimbali ambavyo vinapatikana hapa, vitu ambavyo pengine usingeweza kuviona kama usingekuja katika maonyesho haya. Elimu inatolewa pia, wewe ambaye unakuja hapa unashuhudia. Kumbuka ni maonyesho ya siku 3. Tulianza jana Januari 31, leo Februari mosi, kesho Februari 2 siku ya 3, na kesho kwa mujibu wa kule dosa kwangu watu watatamani sana hata iongeze siku nyingine kwa sababu ya siku ya kesho.
Hasa na zaidi sio kwa ajili ya yaliyomo humu, kwa ajili ya yanayopatikana hapa. Katika hivi vipindi ambavyo wanakuwa wanatoa elimu fupi kwa waliokuja kutazama vitu na kwa wale ambao wanatoa hizi huduma.
Sahihi kabisa. Na nilipenda pia wakati somo la kwanza lilitolewa mchana ule, ile masuala ya mindset na strategy. Nilikuona pale ukasema yes, nimeguswa, kumbe kwamba mindset ina 80, strategy 20. Na hiyo ndio njia ya kufanikiwa. Watu wanaigawa 50 sijui kwa 50 sijui 40.
Mwisho wa siku mwalimu akaja akasema mindset inabeba asilimia kubwa kuliko strategy. Kumbe unaweza kuwa na mikakati, lakini kama huna mindset hautaitimiza.
Lakini pia kuna kitu kingine ulikiuliza Esther wakati nakwenda kumwachia mwezeshaji. Ulizungumza kuhusu upatikanaji wa mafunzo kama hayo, ukazungumza kwamba amekuwa nadra sana kupatikana. Kwa hiyo anapotokea kwenye nafasi kama hii ukasema kwamba watu waogelee.
Yaani waminike, kwa sababu ni mafunzo ya bure. Kabisha, kuna watu wanalipia hela kwa ajili ya kwenda kupata hichi ambacho kinatolewa hapa bure. Unaona? Kwa hiyo ni opportunity ambayo nafikiri tena hasa vijana, kizazi hichi ambacho watu wanapigia debe kwamba the future ni vijana, wangemiminika kwa wingi sana kuja, hata kama hutaangalia bidhaa na kununua kitu, lakini utakachokisikiliza hapa ni hazina yako ya kesho.
Umesikia hiyo? Njoo utengeneze pesa. njoo ujifunze namna ya kuitengeneza pesa.
Wanawake njoo uone jinsi ya kuwa kiongozi bora.
Hivi hiyo pia. Kina Mama Samia wengine wanakuja kuambiwa hapa. Hapa. Bana, sisi kwa sasa wache tupishe. Taratibu nyingine ziendelee. Darasa, kula darasa, chukua karatasi na kalamu, chukua notebook, andika, afu baadaye tutakuja kuuliza maswali hapa. Tutakuja kuuliza maswali hapa. Watu watujibu. Waambie swali na kefa. Wao watauliza maswali hapa. Watu wa darasa sasa.
Please take a seat, visitors and senators alike. The session will be on how to avoid labor disputes at your workplace. How to avoid labor disputes at your workplace by Advocate Isaac from Tanzania Labor Guide. This is an informative session. Please take your seats. Advocate Isaac, karibu sana. Tunashukuru kwa muda wako. Nafikiri baada ya speech yako tutakuwa tuna mdahalo kidogo. Please do not leave immediately after he speaks. You are allowed to ask questions. Do ask the right questions, or even the left ones. I'm sure Advocate Isaac will be able to answer. Karibu sana.
Asante. Good evening, everyone. All right, I'll take you through this session on how you can avoid labor disputes at your workplace. And I'll just take into what was left during the earlier session with Dr. Mahmoud. What I'll be introducing to you on how you can avoid labor disputes. I want to give you just a simple background. In every business, right? In every business, whenever we have a business idea, as a business owner or those who want to start a business, these things come as an idea. So it starts from one person as an idea. And then it goes to other people, right? So whatever the dream that you have, as Dr. Mauj was saying earlier, that our potential is infinite, right? Those who were here when he was presenting in his lecture, that our potential is infinite. So in order for us to reach that potential between our business dream and reality, we need people. So why am I saying that? Every business needs those who will be working so that we can realize that dream. So our concern as Tanzania Labor Guide is to make sure that whenever you have business ideas, you have a better relation with your workers. That is the point. That's why we have this Tanzania Labor Guide, to make sure that the employer and employee relationship is kept according to the laws. So my subject today, I'll just give an example which you'll be able to capture for what I'll be able to speak today, that business has three parts. In business, we have three categories of people who are running business. First, the owners. Owners. Do we have owners here? Owners, those who initiated the idea of business, right? And then we have managers. Tuna viongozi hapa, managers. Do we have managers? Your hands, because I'll be asking questions. Managers, we don't have. They are here, managers. And then we have other workers, or we call junior staff, those who are executing the day-to-day duties. So I'll give why do we have these groups and how these groups are in relation to our labor laws. I'll come back to that example when I explain how do we relate with that, those groups. I want to give you a statistics or a background of what is happening in the labor disputes. Since the inception of these new labor laws, since 2004, we have the high number of labor disputes. There is a lot of labor disputes that's happening in the CMA or in the labor court. And the numbers which I want you to understand, we have 95% of the labor disputes that are filed by the employees. When you go to CMA, Commission for Mediation and Arbitration, when you go to labor court, most of the cases are filed by the employees. And in these cases, 80% of these cases that are happening in labor court, in CMA, most of the employees are succeeding. It means that the employers are penalized because of the cases that have been filed by the employees. So these numbers led us to make a research to see why is this trend. Why do we have a lot of labor dispute and why employees are filing a lot of cases and why they are winning cases. So we came up with, I hope you have been supplied with some flyers, right? We come up with what we call common mistakes. Common mistakes of the employers. That flyer shows about 50 common mistakes that employers commit during employment relationship. So these common mistakes are the ones which makes this number become so high. And some people have been questioning us, asking us why these labor laws seem that they are of advantage to the employees. Right? Most of the employers, they have been asking, kwa nini sheria zinapendelea sana wafanyakazi? Why these laws are of the benefit of the employees? But we have those answers, and I'll be telling you why. First of all, I want you to look why employees, they go as much as they can to the court. There are several reasons, but for the purpose of this presentation, I'll just give you 5 reasons. First of reason is economic reason. Whenever there is a harmony between employer and employee, there's no need for him or her to file a case, right? Whenever there is a relationship which goes on for 1 year, 2 years, or even 20 years, but once an employer initiates termination issues, because that employee has been depending to that job, then likely that employee, no matter how much you have done to him or her, he will go to court. That is economic reason, because he is depending on that job. And the second reason is the system, the labor system. The labor system, according to law, is very easy. It's very easy. Even a person who has no labor background or legal background can be able to file the case. We have a very simple format on which any person who knows how to read and write can file that case even without the assistance of the lawyer. So that's why it's easy for them to go to court, for employees to go to court. Another thing is time frame. The labor dispute have, as compared to other areas or disciplines of the law, they have their own courts. For those, I should ask, who has been at the same way here? Commission for Mediation and Arbitration? No. No one has been even called to the labor office? No. Okay, you just be able to read that paper because soon this will happen maybe to you if you will be able, you will not be able to understand those common mistakes. So time frame is very short. You can go today to the court, you will settle the dispute, the employee should be paid, then that's end. Again, is legal reason. In order for the employer to terminate an employee, he must have a reason, right? If there is any termination between the employer and employee, and the employee challenges that termination, it's the duty of the employer to justify that termination was fair. That is according to our law. That you must have a fair reason and follow a proper procedure. How could be a fair reason? Fair reason could be a misconduct, that there is something an employee has done, maybe she has been late or she has been absconding or there was something to do with the honesty or anything. But other reason could be retrenchment, and the other reason could be capacity, poor performance, or anything else. So the legal reason is what it means that whenever there is a termination, an employer is duty bound to give a reason why he terminated an employee. So that's why employee would be able to file a case. Another thing is access to labor representation. Nowadays, these laws have been made simple. You don't need to have an advocate to be able to be represented at the labor court. You can choose a personal representative, a fellow employee, or you can go to trade unions. So employee can be able to access labor representation, and that's why they can be able to file a case whenever there is a termination. So the problem comes, why then, if the employee, as we understand, they are more financial sound than employers are more financial sound than employees. They have financial capabilities to handle these things. They can have professionals. But why this trend that 80% of the cases still employers lose? We could have about 4 reasons that makes these employers lose this case. One is lack of knowledge. Most of the employers, they don't know these labor laws. We employ every now and then, we terminate every now and then, we give contracts that we don't know how they've been written. Mostly of the contracts, if I can ask you here, if your employer here, you don't know how it has been written or who prepared it. Mostly we requested some samples from our friends and we put those contracts to effect. So knowledge of the labor law is one of the reasons why the employers fails in defending in the labor dispute. Again, we have lack of skills. What do we mean? We have managers. I've been asking here, we have these 3 groups. We have owners, we have the managers, and we have other staff. So these candidates or managers that we put in place to manage the affairs of the employees, they don't know how to apply these laws. You can have an administrator, you can have an HR, you can have any person who is responsible or supervisor, but they don't know how to deal whenever it comes a legal or a labor issue. For example, you can have a person who absconds from employment for 5 days. What will you do, right? And we have, I'll tell you, you will have some employees just absconds and shows up after 9 or 10 days. How do you handle that situation? Most of this tell you, just go back home, kazi imekwisha. But that is not how you should handle these things. You have to follow some sort of procedure. Again, we have lack of proper advice. Yes, you might have no knowledge or you can't have skills, but you request an advice from some people who you think that they'll be able to help you. But somehow you might get a wrong advice. As we know, the professional doctors here, if they are doctors or medical doctors, they are those who are specialists, right? If you have a problem with your eyes, where do you go? Eye specialist. If you have a problem with your heart, where do you go? To a specialist, right? Yes. So sometimes you can go to a lawyer simply because he's a lawyer, but he's not a labor lawyer. So he'll give you an advice on which you are going to apply it, but again it will give you a very bad result. So that could be another problem. There are some law firms, there are some lawyers who are dealing with law, but not specifically labor law. So you'll have to find a person who is conversant with that area. Again, we have a problem of stubbornness, just being stubborn. Some employers that we have dealt with, they say that I don't like this employee. You'll question them, what have she done or whatever, do you have any reason? But I don't like him. You just make sure that he lives at my workplace. So this kind of stubbornness, it brings also a number of cases against the employers. So how do we go about it? We have these flyers that we have just distributed. It gives you the glimpse of how many mistakes that the employers are committing on a daily basis. There are a number of 50 common mistakes that are happening. The employers are creating every day, and those things, they give a lot of problem to the employers. So how are we going to be able to avoid these labor disputes? How are we going to reduce this number of the labor disputes at the workplace? First of all, you'll have to have an assessment of compliance. As I've told you that most of us, we have contracts, but we don't know what are the implications of these contracts that we have. We don't know what are the implications of these policies that we have. So as Tanzania Labor Guide will help you to do the assessment to see if you are in compliance with the labor laws of our country. That is the first step. You can be able to reduce these numbers of disputes, because you'll be able to look at your contracts to see if these contracts are in compliance with our laws. If you have policies, if these policies are in compliance with our laws. And again, you should advise. You should be able to receive advice from a proper person who is dealing with labor law. If you have employees that you think you need help from a conversant firm or conversant company who are dealing with employee, then you can be able to request for the advice and we'll be able to provide the same. And again, number 3 is to make sure that you partner with us as TLG, because we have been able to make sure that we have undergo this research on this area. We have already been able to provide materials on that area, labor laws, and we'll be able to assist you whenever it comes. whenever there is a labor dispute or there's an issue that you need to sort with your employees. So to be able to contribute to this presentation, that I'll be able to ask you questions according to those flyers that we have provided. If you have these flyers, one of our staff will go with some questions. You'll pick a number and I'll be able to ask to answer any question that you'll be able to ask. We have 50 common mistakes, and that raffles we have 50 numbers. So I'll be able to explain any question from those areas that have been mentioned there. Karibu Divya naza ukapitisha, and if you have any question in labor issues, we'll be able to answer that. Karibu. So any common mistake that you see, that we'll be able to answer or if there's any question regarding labor issues. Karibu. Number how much?
13 says lawful orders of the employer. Lawful failure, common mistakes on administration of employment contract. Unlawful orders of the employer. Unlawful orders of the employer.
Number 13, right?
Number 13.
Unlawful order of the employer. So one of the common mistakes is an employer, what is required by the law, any employee should follow lawful orders of the employer. For example, employer requires you to come at this particular time to report at workplace. For example, it gives you the duty according to the job description. But the employee may be able to refuse unlawful orders if those orders of the employer, they are contrary to law, they are against the law. For example, if the employer requires an employee to maybe to hide some information from the government officials, that is a lawful order. So whenever a person or a government official comes to your workplace and they request you to give some information as an employee, and you provide that information to the government official, then the employer cannot punish you. Yes. You can speak it.
Yes. I just want to challenge you here a little bit. Like, it's just on my mind. I mean, maybe I might be wrong or something. Yeah. So, what is the Tanzania law labor guide doing to create a healthy work environment? You know, so that these things do not happen. Like, you know, we need to create a standard for work environments to ensure that everybody's happy.
Yes.
So we need to nurture an environment whereby such things do not happen. Don't you think so? We
Yes.
need to take care of that first.
Yes, that's what I was trying to present here. That is a research that we have done to see why these problems of employment problem between the employer and the employee. And what we are dealing with as a Tanzania Labour Guide is to make sure that at the workplace there is a peace and harmony, and both parties, they are concentrating in productivity. And this is just like a wake-up call to the employers to see how they can be able to avoid those common mistakes so that they can be able to stay with the employee as much as they can, and if there is a way, they can terminate it as much as possible. Yes, that's what we are dealing with. Do we have any, Rafa?
Thank you.
Another? A common mistake you can ask? Or any other question according to labor law? Your number?
49.
49, what does it say?
Transfer as penalty.
Yes. In a labor relationship, right? In a labor relationship, an employer is allowed to transfer an employee from one station to another. So, yes?
Sorry, you mean work duties wise?
Yeah. It's
transfer like from one duty to another. If I've employed you as a driver,
yes,
then I use you as a cook in the kitchen.
No, not as a duty.
Yeah.
Working station.
Location wise?
Yes, location wise.
Thank you.
Yes. So if there are some employers whenever you commit, there's a misunderstanding between the employer and employee, they'll tend to transfer you to another place. So if you transfer that particular person to another place as a penalty, is not allowed by the law. Whenever there is a transfer, you must make a consultation. It's not a one-man decision or a one-side decision. It has to be a consultation. For example, if you even want to change the terms of contract, for example, I'm paying this much, 1,100, I want to pay you 50,000, right? There must be a consultation. So if you transfer an employee as a penalty, an employee can challenge that, and the employer can be penalized on that.
Thank you.
Anyone with other platform? Or any question. If you have any issue in the labor, you can even ask.
Number 50.
Number 50.
Penalty on demotion.
Penalty on demotion. Yeah, this is a circumstance when you have an employee, right, in a certain position, and you are not happy with that performance. So what you are supposed to do is first to assess that performance. You don't have to, maybe he was a supervisor and you promoted him to be a senior supervisor, and you are not happy with what he's doing as a senior supervisor. What you are supposed to do is not to demote him. You have to assess why you are not happy with that position. Is there any mistake he has done? Is there any shortcoming he has done? So you have to get that assessment, and he has to be represented, or should represent his concern on that particular position before you can demote. If you demote without having that conversation or that procedure, that can amount to a common mistake, and an employee can challenge that demotion before the court of law and can be awarded some damages. Yes.
Thank you.
Karibu. Any question apart from this you can even ask.
Premature termination of fixed-term contract.
Machoma unauliza swali lako gumu, na watu unataka premature number how much? 20. Number 12? 20. All right. We have three kinds of contracts. We have three kinds of employment contract. Number one is unspecified period of time, that is permanent contract, which ends when the person retires at 60 or 55 voluntary. That's first kind of contract. The second one is fixed term contracts, could be 1 year from January to December, or 2 years or so forth. And we have third kind of contracting, which is specific task. A person who comes, he works today, you pay him today or weekly. That is specific task. So when you talk about premature termination of fixed term, the law requires that whenever you have a fixed term, it should end automatically upon the expiry of time. If it's a 1 year fixed term contract, you cannot end that contract in between, unless there's only one option, unless you agree with that particular employee. So for those who have contracts, they know that they say, my contract says that I can give 1 month notice, right? But that is not according to law. The law requires that whenever there is a fixed term contract, it has to end to the time when it's specifically provided under the contract. If that does not end in that way, or you want to terminate early, you have to call that employee and to have an agreement to early termination of the contract. Yes.
And he's not allowed to work.
Okay, by the medical doctor?
Yes.
And do you have a certification from the doctor?
Yes.
Yes, that could be a reason. We have, as I've told you, that we have different reasons that an employment contract can end. One of it is capacity. Capacity could be because of ill health, injury, or poor performance. So if there's a case of healthy, there's a procedure to follow that you can be able to terminate. After that leave sick of 128 days, an employer can be able to follow that procedure to terminate that contract due to illness. There's a question at this side?
Sorry, based on what you said, I have a question.
Yes.
I think I have two questions rather. The first question is that a fixed term contract, towards the end, if neither party has notarized to the second party, it automatically carries forward. Am I correct?
Yes. Come again?
If neither party has
Yes.
notarized in
Yes.
any format, whether it's through SMS or email,
Yes.
to identify that my contract has come to an end,
Yes.
thank you very much, it automatically renewed.
It automatically renews only when an employee shows up to their working.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Shows
So-
up and you allow him to work.
Sure. So
Yes.
earlier you said that it automatically terminates. That's not true.
What does it mean by automatic termination? If this contract starts from 1st January, it has to end on 31st December, right? When it reaches this date, that contract, according to law, it ends.
But if
What I'm coming to that question. But if the next day means 1st January,
Correct.
that employee comes to work and you allow that employee to work, then it is automatic renewal.
Exactly.
So what you are supposed to do, you don't really need to give him a notice if this contract is in that situation. On the eve of this 1st December, you say, bye-bye, tomorrow there's no job. And he cannot claim anywhere because he would say that you have not given me a notice, but the notice was there of 12 months.
Yeah, that's recognized because that's an administrative task to ensure that on the 31st,
Yes.
when everyone's out celebrating New Year's, you're going to remember to tell your employee, sorry, you can't come tomorrow. My second question is
Yes.
the labor laws.
Yes.
You said that revised 2004. I believe there was another revision in 2017.
Yes,
that
the current labor law, it's not revised, it was enacted.
Okay.
Enacted was when the parliament made these laws.
All right.
We started using them 2007.
Okay.
And the current version that we are having is 2019, is the revised edition.
Okay.
That's what we are using.
Okay.
Yes.
So hypothetically, we're in 2024.
Yes.
When is the next revision?
It depends on the circumstance if we need that revision. Because revision doesn't mean that they enact the whole law. They just put some of the gaps that we are recognized because of the practice. Because there are some things we cannot do until they are tested.
Sure.
So
Because
whenever,
I believe that our laws are still utilizing our colonial masters because they've left it behind for us to currently continue.
If you take, this is one of the law that it has no that background of colonial master because we imported this law from South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, from South Africa, we call it parimatia. They are the same as what is practiced in South Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Two more questions so that we can finish. Yes.
Just banking on his question, 31st December 2023 contract is over. 1st January employee turns up to work. This guy agrees to keep him as well.
Yes.
The work contract continues for how long?
The same terms.
Again, 1 year.
Yeah. If
Automatically renewed for another
yes,
year.
unless you issue,
Unless you do a separate time frame.
yes, unless you issue another contract which says otherwise.
Otherwise, everything's renewed on the same terms.
On the second, and if you terminate on that first day or the second, then you'll be liable to pay the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Another question from this side?
Do they have to deduct NSSF from home employees, domestic employees?
Yes, as long as they're employees. Yes, you are supposed to do that.
It is by law.
It is by law.
Even if you have one man.
It is by law. Yes. Again? Any question? All right. The last question so that we can have another session.
Actually, I have one issue.
Yes.
I'm expatriate.
All right.
Okay. I was working on company almost 7 years. While I was resigning, my boss given me NOC you should not work same field. You should not start same business like my company. Okay. He mentioned 5 years.
For?
You should not work next to 5 years the same industry.
In the same industry.
Same industry and same business you should not start. Okay. After giving NOC, I fighted with him. He refused to give normal NOC. And then I went back to India and then I started joining another company.
Yes.
Now he is informing, no, if you don't give him job, like that is threatening me. He is informing my HR, don't give him a remove. Almost 2-3 jobs I lost because of him.
Yes.
Okay, still he is threatening, don't work like that. Any law is there to oppose him?
Yes, if those threats didn't send to you as in message or you just...
No, through my friends and relatives.
Okay. You can have a legal case against that particular employee because one thing, it's a free market here. It's a free labor. Anyone who is capable of working, he can work, he can be employed. So whatever what he's doing to tarnish your image is not allowed by the law. So if you can be able to gather the evidence enough, you can be able to fight him in the court of law.
I don't have a contract with him. Even I was working 7 years, I don't have a single contract. Just only verbally I worked.
You have been working verbally?
Yeah. Just through reference only I went there, I just started work. Every year I'm trying to ask a contract. He refused to give contract.
Then in that case, how did you manage to enter in the country?
No, just normal through reference. I tried to ask the contract every year. He refused to give contract. If you want to write the contract, he has to mention leave salary, some other benefit. To avoid that one, he avoided completely.
Okay. In that case of yours, what I will be able to say, any person who is working in the country without having a valid contract, that contract is void by law. You cannot enforce it in anywhere. So even that relationship that you had for him with 7 years under the law was void. He could be penalized actually, and you could be penalized.
Still, what he's doing wherever I'm giving CV, he's informing them. He's thief. He's taken money from me. He did
so
some wrong thing.
That could amount
he's
to criminal.
He's informing everybody.
Yeah.
Because of him, almost 3-4 jobs I lost. Finally, I got one job. I worked in 6 months. Still, he's troubling me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will be able to answer you how you can go about, how you can pursue your right, so that we can have a room for others to present. So to round up, thank you for this time. You can be able to visit our booth there, Tanzania Labor Guide. I'll be able to provide you with advice on labor laws. You can see our materials on labor laws. So whenever there is any issue, you can be able to share with us, and we'll be happy to help you, whether you are an employee or the employer. So thank you very much. This presentation, it has already been sent to the Jiba group, WhatsApp group. So if there's any question, please, you can let us know. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac. That was a fruitful discussion on the labor. A round of applause to welcome Dr. Maoni.
much. So I'm not going to be doing the speaking. I wanted to introduce on, and I wanted to ask you a few things. Firstly, just raise your hands again. How many of you in this room run teams? So you have a team around you. Either you have a team, you lead a team. Show of hands. Okay, so most of you, right? Most of us in this room lead teams. So whenever I get invited into a company.
Mtazamaji wa Daily News Digital, baada ya kusikia mambo mengi kuhusiana na namna gani ya kuepuka makosa kazini, sasa tunaenda katika ule wasaa ambao naamini naweza nikasema wanawake wengi au kina dada tumekuwa tukisubiria kwa hamu kuweza kusikia wanawake na uongozi. Ni namna gani wanawake wanafanya kazi au wanatakiwa kukaa katika nafasi zao za uongozi, na hapa utapata kusikia kila ambacho unahitaji kukifahamu wewe kama mwanamama, wewe kama mwanadada, wewe kama binti katika uongozi. Ni kipi unahitaji kukifanya au ni namna gani unaweza ukawa kiongozi kama binti au kama mwanamke. Endelea kufuatilia Daily News Digital, na hapa sikiliza yote ambayo yanaendelea.
Which one do you rehire back straight away? And they're like, oh, okay, that's a good question. If you had to get rid of everyone tomorrow, I think you could rehire them straight away. Tell me, how many people do you have in your team, and how many would you rehire straight away? And how many would you ask to go away? If there were no laws, if it didn't matter, if there were no labor laws, what would it be? 50%. 50% of your team you would not bring back. Thank you for being honest. Thank you. Who else? 90% you would not bring back. You bring back 90%. Fantastic. Okay, so 90% you'd bring back. Okay. Any? 10%. You'd bring back 10%. Okay, so you bring back 10%. Any others? You'd bring back 99%. Okay. But most of them you'd bring back. I love it, brilliant. Okay, so 99, so let's put 1%. You'd get rid of, right? 90% you'd get rid of. Right, so that's really interesting to know. Because your team, your business is only going to be as good as the worst performing employee in that business. You know that, right? The one who'll set the standard for everyone else will be the one who does the least, who doesn't do the things that you ask them to do. That's the person who's going to set the standard. Okay? So it's really, really important that we understand that. And the fact that, like, for some people said, you know, I would only bring back 50% of my team. I'd only bring back 10% of my team. The question is, why have we got teams right now where we're not happy with the way they are? And it's something we really need to look at as we're growing a team. That's the first question I ask. The second question that I have a look at is when we're assessing individual members of a team, is there are three lenses which I look at each individual, right? Three things we look at. The first one is capability. I'll go through this in a minute. Capability. The second one is efficiency. And the third one is motivation. So I sit down with head of the team, C-suite, CEO, and we go through each and every person and we give them a score of between 1 and 10 on how capable they are, how efficient they are, and how motivated they are. First thing we do. And what I'm looking for is scores of 8 and above. If someone has a score of 7 or below for any of these, it may not be the wrong person, but a low score in capability, what that shows me is it's a hiring issue. We hired the wrong person for the wrong role. Sometimes in a business, someone comes on to do one thing, but because the business is growing very quickly, they start doing other things which they weren't meant to do. So in the end, they end up in a different role to what they were actually assigned to be. So now, they're not as capable as they could be. So these scores need to be above 8 to 10. The efficiency over here is how efficient are they? And if the score is below 7, this is a training issue. So over here is hiring issue, and over here is a training issue. So the efficiency, you can get them to where they want by getting the right trainers in, by getting them ready for that role. And the third one, and for me this is the most important, is how motivated they are to do what they do. And this score really needs to be a 9 or 10. Whereas this is about hiring, this is about training, this is about culture, the culture within the business, the culture within the team. How happy are they every single morning to leave their family at home, and how much do they want to come into the office to work? How much do they want to be able to work for you? And this score, it really needs to be as close to 10 as possible, right? And so they're the 3 things which we look for in every team member. And if anyone's below a 7, we say, oh, are they suited for another role within the business somewhere? Is it someone has to leave? And sometimes it's better to let that person go because they're not doing justice for themselves if they're not growing, right? So that's what we look at. When we look at our business, one of the biggest things here was culture. And we knew that this part is huge. And so there was a role within our business which we called the CHO, right? And the CHO stands for Chief Heart Officer, okay? Heart being heart, right? And the reason the Chief Heart Officer came along is what we realized is every team member, I want them to be seen, to be heard, and to be valued. And as long as each and every member in the team can be seen, heard, and valued, then our clients can be seen, heard, and valued as well. But if the staff aren't there, then there's no way that we can give it to our clients. And that's when the role of CHO opened up. So I wanted Penny to come and talk to you today about this is her role within the business. It is the most important role, even more important than the CEO role within the business. And this is what unites the whole business together. Because if the team aren't happy, if the clients aren't happy, there's no way that the business can grow in the way that we want. Penny's journey has been absolutely amazing. Everything that she's done, everything that she's gone through, the lessons she's learned, the hardships she's been through, right? Being a female CHO in a business. And so I wanted her to come and speak to you today. And also she'll be speaking to you on Saturday evening as well, more about this as well. So can I ask everyone to stand up and give Penny a massive clap up? And Penny can come and grab the stage. We can go louder than that. Hey. Awesome. Thank you. Let me turn this over for you.
Thank you so much, Mahmood, and thank you everyone for taking time out from your busy schedules to be with us. I was going to get you to stand up and have a stretch, but Mahmood got you to stand up to give that clap up, so thank you very much. This is a snapshot, so I'm going to give you a little bit about my journey, and I'm going to give you some top tips that I've learned in my roles of leadership roles throughout my journey and where I am today. They're particularly applicable to women, obviously, but men who are here too, you will also benefit, I am sure. So what I'm really looking for is you to leave today with at least one golden nugget, one thing that you can start doing today that's going to impact your role as a leader. And we're all leaders in every aspect of our life, particularly as women. If you think about how many hats we wear, you're a leader as a mother, you're a leader as a wife, a daughter, a sister, an auntie, a niece. In your career, you're a leader as well. And for those of you who are business owners, you're absolutely a leader. So my background is actually education. As a child, I really knew what I wanted to do, and I wanted to teach. And there was a reason for this. My dad was the most inspirational person. He walked into a room and everybody would look at him. He wasn't a teacher though. My mum, where was she? She lived in my dad's shadow. And when I was a little girl, about 6 years old, one of my first memories is going to a cake shop on the way home from school. Who likes cake? You like cake? Excellent. And it was one of my treats. It was a Friday. We waited in the queue, And the long queue, and I picked the cake with my mum, and we got to the front, and the shop assistant didn't look at my mum, but looked at the person behind her. And my mum had tears in her eyes. She turned to me and she said, "I'm invisible. Nobody sees me." And say, "No, no, Mum, come on, come on." And I jumped up and I said, "We're here, we were next. And we got our cake, and I thought my mum would be happy, but she wasn't. You see, my mum had decided, well, not, she had left her job, and she had this thing missing. She wanted more, but didn't know how to do that. And that came through as her feeling sad. When I got to school, I met some most inspirational women, powerful women, and it made me think, do you know what? I want to be an inspirational person for my children. And I grew up, I worked hard, and I got my first job as a teacher, and I loved it. And then in my first year, I applied for a leadership role, and I got it. I was only in my 20s, I had a young family, a lovely husband, and I made the choice that I wanted to do both. I had friends who felt that happiness and that fulfillment from being at home all the time, and I really respected that. There was no judgment, but for me, I wanted more. And I applied for a deputy head's job, and I got that. I was the youngest deputy head in this school, and it was an independent private school. It was going really, really well. By this time, I'd had my third baby. I was cuddling him, I'd got my career, I'd got my family, newborn baby in my arms, and I had a phone call. And it was from a governor of the school, the people that make the decisions in our country with the schools. And they said, "Penny, the school is going to be taken over. It's going to be merged." My beautiful independent school, where we got to choose the curriculum, the arts, the music, the sport, was being taken over. I had to go back to work quickly. I actually took my baby boy with me. He used to go to sleep in a pram next to the photocopier in the office. And my school had been an independent school. It could make its own rules, own curriculum. Now it was part of a big organisation. I hated it. I really hated it. The children weren't seen as individuals. They were numbers. And it was my job to sell the school, show people around. But I couldn't stay. So I left. I got 2 children still in primary school. I needed to find a school that I believed would be the best for them, that would do the arts and the sport as well as the academic rigour. And I looked, and I looked, couldn't find one. So I needed to find a solution. Because my dad had always taught me, if you have a solution, you don't have a problem. So I decided to open a new school. And I got as many people together like this, and I told them about the school. It was a business, not a charity, and we set it up. I actually managed to raise £1.2 million to open that school. I'd like a little cheer then. Can you give me a little cheer? Woo! Thank you. So we did, and it was beautiful. It's still beautiful. We opened it in 2013. It's a forest school, it's got a lake, the children get muddy, they do as much sport as they do maths and English, yet their exam results are very, very high. And everyone on the outside looking in would go, "Wow, Penny, so successful, you're so lucky." And I didn't feel sad, but there was still something missing. And one day, I met Mahmood Marji. He was talking on stage like this. He opened his mouth, he spoke, and I knew I wanted to work with him. And I spoke to him and said, "I'm not sad, but I have this feeling inside of me where I know I can touch more lives That's what I wanted, to touch more lives. At this point, we had 70 children in the school. My school's in a very small city called Lincoln in the United Kingdom. I wanted to do more than that. I wanted to speak to people around the world and help them to realise their dreams like I had with my school. And Mahmood helped me. He helped me take those blinkers away. He helped me realising that the only person who was stopping me doing that was me. And I started to speak on stage. I started to run courses for people, parents, children, school leavers. People heard me talk and asked me to talk on their stages. Head teachers started to ask me for help to make their schools excellent, because my school was excellent in all areas. So I started doing that and started coaching. And then Mahmood asked me, would I be one of his coaches? Absolutely. And then he asked me if I would be head coach, look after the coaches and train them. 100% yes. And then he asked me to be CHO, Chief Heart Officer, which is what I do now. Still have the school, and in September 2023, I put a head in place full-time so that I get to travel with Mahmood Mauji like I'm doing today. So, what are my top tips? Now, I do a lot of talks about leadership sustainability. And what that means is, how can we be the leader we aspire to be? Or, you know when you get a job and the first few weeks you go for it, and then it's like, oh, this is hard. So for me, it's how can we maintain that high, excellent standard of leadership? And that I hope you can take away today and implement straight away. Would you like to hear them? Excellent, okay. So I use this acronym, which is SAGE. And a sage is someone wise who can help you. And I want you today to think, how can I help other people in my community? And how can I help myself? So the first letter, S, stands simply for solutions. When you think about life, and for those of you who were here earlier, we have 4 tenets that we stick to. I'm going to talk about the first 2. The first one is that absolute belief that the world is a wonderful place. Yes, bad things happen. Yes, there are bad people in the world. But on the scale of probability, there's far more good than there is bad. So believing that helps us to think about this, looking for solutions. Because as my dad used to say, if you have a solution, you don't have a problem. Understanding, and I talk about this a lot with children, and I've written a whole curriculum about it, it's not about positive thinking. You can't be positive 100% of the time. It's about possibility thinking. What solution can I find to this problem? So if you think about life like that, you know that there are going to be bad things that happen. Everyone's had a bad thing happen to them? Everyone's had a bad thing happen to them in life? Yeah? You all had a good thing happen to you? Fantastic. Another bad thing happen? Another good thing happen? Bad thing happen? It's called living. And there's no coincidence that the up-down matches your heart rate on a monitor. Because what's the alternative? Flatline. Nobody wants that. It's in those moments of hardship, when bad things happen and we struggle, that we actually gain strength. Who's been to a gym? Been to a gym, done exercise, played sport? Does sometimes your muscles hurt? Yeah? Everyone's felt their muscles hurt at some point. And we tell people, don't we? Oh, my muscles are hurt, they're growing. We accept that. When I work hard, my muscles hunger. It's the same in life. It's here, in these lows, that we gain the strength to reach the next heights. And understanding that means that we understand living life and we can look for those possibilities. But how do we train the brain to look for them? And there's a little hack that I do every morning, which is starting the day the right way. And that's listing everything I'm grateful for in my head. Down to, I'm grateful I can feel my heart beating, I'm alive. I'm grateful I can see, I can hear, I can smell, I can taste. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I have food in my cupboard. I'm grateful for my friends, for my family. Turn to the person next to you. You've got 30 seconds. And I want you to say one thing you're grateful for, and then the next person says what they're grateful for. Back and forwards like that. So do you all understand that? Yeah? Okay, 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Can't hear you. Come on, guys. Get with partners. Your friends, family, the fact that you're here, your businesses. Okay, guys, this way. By starting the day the right way, by listing the things that you're grateful for every day, you start to train your brain to look for the right things, to look for the opportunities, to look for the good. Lots of us wake up in the morning and the first thing we think of is, oh, what have I got to do today? Not, what do I get to do today? I get to go to work. I get to see my friends. I get to have breakfast with my family. Changing our language and changing our thought process means we're looking for those positives, we're looking for those good, we're looking for the opportunities, we're finding the solutions. And my staff at school come to me and say, Penny, I had a problem, but I've got some solutions. Because it's a culture. It's not me telling them, it's me showing them. And as leaders, whether you're a leader in your business or you're a leader at home with your family, we don't tell, we show. So show the people around you how to find those solutions in your everyday life. Second one, really importantly, is advice. I spent many of my particular teenage years arguing with people, falling out with people, because they might not agree with me. What I've realised as I've gone through my leadership is it's so important that you listen to people who you respect. You listen to people who have done it. You listen to people who are doing what you are dreaming and aspiring to do. Have inspirational people that you can turn to. You don't even have to be mates with them. You know, there can be somebody that you know that you are really inspired by. You might never have met them, but you know enough about them of what they'd say in that situation. Your virtual board. Many people told me not to open a school. Don't do it. It won't work. Did they say that because they were mean? They said it because they wanted to keep me safe. Your friends, your family, the people who love you don't want you to take risks because it might fail and you might be sad. But as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as leaders, we know that when we make mistakes, we learn. The brain actually makes 2 connections when you make a mistake and only 1 when you get something right. That's the power of getting things wrong. So really, really, really take advice from the people who you are inspired by. And then this one I could talk for a whole day about. It's that you can be a great mom and a great businesswoman. How and why? My dad worked so hard, I didn't see him a huge amount when I was a kid. Yet who do I remember my dad. Because do you know why? He was fulfilled. When he was with me, he was happy. When he was with me, he gave me his time. And it's about quality, not quantity. There was a study in America that was looking at the amount of time parents spend with their children and how that impacted happiness. Actually, it wasn't about time. It was how the parent felt. If they felt happy and fulfilled, their children were happy and fulfilled. If their parents were unhappy, the children, the impact was that they actually turned into bullies. No, they weren't bullied, they bullied other people because they wanted other people to feel worse. That's what bullies do. How you feel impacts your children. So what makes you feel fulfilled, the difference you can make, that is the impact you have as a mum. There's a lot more I can talk to you about that, about how to be present. But if you want more advice than that, come and see me tomorrow. Join us on Saturday and find out far more from Mahmood and myself. Those are my top tips. So find your solutions, advice from inspirational people. You can be a great mom and a great businesswoman. And that means that you are an empowered leader. Well done. Thank you, guys. Any questions before we finish for the evening? At all going? Everyone's tired? No? Yeah.
Thank you everybody for attending and for staying up till late. We've now come to the end of Jiba's Day 2. Thank you very much for attending and see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Naam, mtazamaji wa Daily News Digital, na haya ni mambo mazuri kabisa ambayo umepata kuyasikia kutoka hapa Jiba's Expo, Business Expo. Na mbali na biashara umeweza kusikia namna nzuri au ni namna gani unaweza ukawa mwanamke bora, mwanamke shujaa katika familia yako, katika kazi yako, katika biashara zako na katika kila eneo la maisha yako. Na hicho ndicho ambacho tumetoka kukisikia hivi punde tu kutoka kwa mwanamama huyu ambaye amekueleza mambo mengi sana ambayo unahitaji kuyafahamu. Basi endelea kuwa nasi, bado tunayo mengi ambayo tumekuandalia kwa siku hii.
Oh, to the lady, okay. Do you want me to walk in now? Okay. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Congratulations, first of all, for
Thank you.
the good session that you just presented here.
Thank you very much.
To everyone here.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, listening to what you said earlier, actually you have given us, let me say, you have fed us with a lot of good things, which we can't even try to select what to leave or what to talk about. But just in a brief, one of the challenges that people have been facing, especially this generation and youth, is having the bad mentality about pursuing something, like maybe being discouraged. And earlier you said about there was strategy and strategy and it was about, is it mentality or having mindset? Yeah, mindset. So I want you to tell maybe the viewers in brief what someone has to do in order to improve their businesses or their companies or anything that they're running for it to prosper. Yes.
Brilliant, thank you. Wonderful question. I believe right now we're living in one of the most amazing times we could ever live, but it's a very challenging time as well. And we can't control the environment around us, but the one thing we can control up here, right?
Yes.
So the way I look at life is like when you look at the sports world, every great sportsman you've ever known, be it a golf player, be it a basketball player, be it a football player, whatever, they've all had performance coaches who can work with their mind to make sure that that they can take on the most amount of stress in the best way to be as focused as possible and have the best results. So what we've done back in the UK and globally is to be able to bring that to the forefront, to be able to work with business owners, to be able to really, really get them to perform at their peak, peak performance. That's what it is. I believe that we should all dream massively. We should. In this room, you know, the next Elon Musk could be here, but they just don't believe in themselves enough, and so that they'll never be able to do it. So it's how can everyone in this room have really big goals? They can believe in themselves enough to know that they can do it, and then they can be in an environment around them which will allow that to grow. Okay. And that's where we come from.
Okay, and from what you just said, it means that there is a necessity of people to be coached on how they can control their minds and accept things that are circumstances that are happening in their working environment and their businesses, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, you said it exactly how it is. You have to be able to.
This is something that actually most of us, we have never thought about it.
Okay.
We just know that you just go to work, you do your activities, but how to handle the pressure or circumstances, problems, you end up being depressed and the next day you can't go to work, you can't go and do your business. So this is the necessity of having a coach.
And also in this day and age, we've been told that you shouldn't be stressed and you should be happy and you should be calm, but anyone who's built something which is really big, not just money, but impact, anyone who's done something that big, they didn't get it easy. It's hard. It is tough. You're gonna be stressed. You're gonna end up on the floor crying, like this is tough. It's how do you, if you want to change the world, you've got to be able to cope with that level of pressure.
All right, then I want to ask you another question. Do you think there is a way that we can relate mismanagement of funds and stress? Like, is it possible that some people who don't know or they can't use well their funds, for instance, we all get the same salary. Okay. But out of the blue, yours is finished and mine is still there. Do you think that this person who...
I love the question. I think what you, where we're going with this is one of the biggest keys for a business owner, for a successful business owner, is discipline. Okay. Right? And if you can't manage what you have here, there's no way you're going to be able to manage what you have over here. So if you can't save $1 in 100 pounds, you're not going to be able to save $1 million in $1 billion. So, and for me, that comes down to discipline. So one of the keys, when you look at any sports player, anyone who's done really well, the one thing which they have is discipline. The time they wake up, the time they hit the gym, it's all fixed, right? And it's that discipline of how you do anything is how you do everything.
Okay, so the time to wake up, the time to do everything. What do you recommend for someone who wants to prosper in anything they do? Try to recommend to them their daytime timetable.
I would say, if you want to really, really create like a massive change in your life, you start with doing something which is very, very hard, right? And you may say, well, this has nothing to do with business, and I get it, but it's about discipline. Yes. The hardest thing to ever do is wake up earlier in the morning. Hardest thing. This is the hardest thing to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the hardest thing to do. So
the bitter dose.
Yeah. So if you are waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, start waking up at 5. Like that. Like just
start waking up at 5 instead of 7 a.m.
A big shift, like not just 6:30, not just half an hour, but 2 hours, like a really big shift. Okay. Now that will shake you up. Like, do you know if you're dying on the floor, And if the ambulance comes, they don't just tap you, they shake you, right? It's the same thing over here. What's going to shake you up? So doing something which is so different, and the hardest thing to do is wake up. So whenever I work with any clients of mine, we first look at their life, like, you know, structure their life. We don't look at the business first. The business is second. It's their life first. How do we get the best discipline in them? How do we instill the best mindset? And what is it that we can put in their life, which is really hard for them to do every day, which makes them feel, wow, I can do this. And imagine if you could do that for a month. You wake up at 5 o'clock every morning. Imagine how much power that'll give you. Now, you take that power and you bring it home. You bring it to your kids, you bring it to your spouse, you bring it into the office, you bring it to your team. And all of a sudden, things start changing, right? You're feeling better, you're looking better, you're more powerful, you can do different things. And that's the cycle of change.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah?
Thank you so much. Actually, you have a lot. Maybe next time we're going to have good time and enough time to talk more on business, finance, discipline, and all that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Ni mengi sana tumesikia, umeweza kuelewa. Na sisi vijana bwana, tunalalamika sana maisha magumu, lakini ukitaka kufanikiwa lazima tuanze na discipline. Tambua kwamba kuna vitu kufanya. Kwanza fanya yale mambo ambayo ni magumu kwanza, ambacho ni kuamka mapema na asubuhi. Lakini hapa tupo na hi. Naweza nikasema ni shujaa kwa sababu kwa alichotuelezea hapa ni mambo mengi ambayo amepitia, amekatishwa tamaa, lakini aliweza kusimama na kukamilisha malengo yake na ndoto zake katika maisha. Hello.
Hello.
Your name, please?
It's Penny Ford.
Penny Ford.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, that was a good session.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Please, you enjoyed it?
Yeah, of course I did. And that your story, where you went with your mom, was it at the supermarket to buy something? Yeah, it was very interesting. All right, so then what we want now is for you to just in brief explain to us what I liked the most was the part that seeking advice from the right people.
Absolutely.
To me, I took it like, don't seek advice from people who comfort you, but rather those who push you and inspire you.
Yeah.
Just talk about that a bit.
Yeah, your circle is so important, and surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you and challenge you and celebrate your successes, but not necessarily want to keep you safe. And that sounds, we want to keep safe, but in business and leadership, we need to take risks, and sometimes that means we might fail. And our loved ones want to keep us safe because they don't want us to be upset. Actually, to be really powerful leaders, particularly women, we have to push ourselves, and sometimes we might not get it right, and it doesn't matter. We learn so much. Only take advice from people who are ahead of you, people who have already done it, and then you know that they're speaking from experience.
Yeah, and you know why I like this the most is because we women, because we're talking about women, we love comfort.
Yes.
Like you are in problems, maybe your husband has abandoned you, or you're with the kids alone, you start complaining and saying that, and you start saying that, oh, you want people who will comfort you and say that, you have been through a lot, this and that, just relax. But now it was like, get people who will push you harder and harder.
100%.
For you to accomplish, know what you want.
Yep, know what you want, ask for help. But don't settle because it's safe and comfortable, because you know when you're on your deathbed at the end of your life and you look back, you're not going to regret doing things, you're going to regret the things you didn't do.
Yes.
So don't look back and go, what if? Why didn't I? Look back and be really proud of everything you achieved and the amount of people that you served and looked after, and really, really challenge yourself.
All right. Then, so how many, let me say, women have you reached already with
with Brilliant Beyond Belief?
Yes.
We've worked, for me it's, you know, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people.
Wow.
A lot of them are women, but for me it's the impact they go on to have.
Yes.
So we don't know how many people we're impacting because they go on to impact other people. It's a ripple effect, you know?
Okay, but you started the session since yesterday till today. Maybe what's the outcome? Do you see any positive results?
Oh, today, as in
from people?
This couple of days? Or do you mean, the last 2 days while we've been here?
Yes.
We've had some really powerful conversations, particularly with women who they're not sure what they want, and that doesn't matter. We don't always know exactly what the path's going to be. What we do need to do is to go out there and try new things. If we don't try new things, we don't find out what we love, and we don't find out what's out there. So my advice is go out there, do as many new things as possible, and you'll find the thing that you're passionate about.
Okay, I understand this is your first time in Tanzania.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay, so what fascinates you about Tanzania, or maybe anything, what do you like about it?
I love the people. Everyone's so kind. I love the weather. It's so warm compared to back home where it's grey and miserable. For me, it feels like a family atmosphere.
Okay.
Everyone's looking out for you. Everyone's been so kind and supportive and lovely here. It looks beautiful. I've got a wonderful view out of my hotel window. I've been here a lot, so I'm not explored, but tomorrow I'm going to be out exploring and see a bit more of
So
Tanzania.
where do you intend to visit maybe?
Oyster Bay tomorrow, is that right? Oyster Bay, I think. That's what I would like to go do tomorrow.
And out of Dar es Salaam, have you any plans maybe to visit other tourist attractions?
We haven't got much time because I'm going back on Sunday morning.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hope
otherwise,
you come back soon, for tourism.
I'm sure we will come back and visit just as tourists.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One word to a woman who is watching you right now.
Go for it. Take the challenge, go for it, and surround yourself with the right people.
Go for it. Take a challenge and surround yourself with
the right people.
The right people. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Naam, mtazamaji. Umeambiwaje? Nenda fuata kile ambacho unakitaka. Na hakikisha kwamba unazungukwa na wale watu ambao ni sahihi katika maisha yako. Na hii ni kwa watu wote, lakini hususan kwa wanawake, kwa sababu sisi tumezoea kwamba ni wale watu ambao daima tunawezeshwa, lakini unaweza ukafanya vitu ambavyo husihitaji kuwezeshwa na ukajiwezesha mwenyewe. Na hii ni Daily News Digital. Yote haya tumekupatia hapa tukiwa ndani kabisa ya Jiba Business Expo. Lakini siko peke yangu mimi Estetakwa, niko na mwenzangu Kavishi ambaye hapo awali tulikuwa naye toka mwanzo, bila kusahau kwamba nyuma ya kamera tulikuwa naye director Kefa Lovin. Lakini pia kuna wengine Wycliffe Mutayoba pamoja na Zaituni Mkwama, bila kumsahau Samuel Swai. Na hii ni Daily News Digital. Endelea kutufuatilia. Fine.